Hello again, thanks for staying and welcome back to the marketplace and to our very fair story. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is rejecting suggestions of pushing hard to end the IMF program in April next year because of borrowing restrictions. The minister earlier this month disclosed that government is working hard to implement all the necessary reforms to aid completion come April 2018. However, some analysts argued that government may not be able to meet all the targets looking at the time left to complete the program. They have maintained that government just want to quickly get out of the program so it could borrow more to finance most of its campaign promises. But Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta disagrees.
We are truly committed to end in April 2018. And, but I think maybe something that we should be clear on with regards to the fund is that there are two or three components to it. One, certainly you get into a program of the Article 4, with the reviews, which then releases money to you, and you do certain things to support your budget. There's also, a very strong technical assistant component of the fund, which is what creates the institutional mechanism to ensure that the discipline continues. And I think those are things that we will be taking advantage of and therefore working with the fund, but maybe in a different way.
Do you think that the restrictions are too much? That is why it's motivating other members in government to say that let's quickly get ready and get out of this program in April, because even without a program we are raising, or even without direct supervision of the fund or even support, we are able to secure $2.2 billion. Maybe the market confidence that was a problem, we have already achieved it.
But the issue, really, George, I think we get it completely wrong. I mean, the issue that we have to contend with is, as Ghanaians, whether the fund was there or not, with a 70% debt to GDP ratio, with all of the fiscal indiscipline, we'll have to do those things ourselves. And that is really the fundamental thing, whether the fund is in or the fund is not in. So the argument about, well, we've got money, getting money does not mean that we're going to use it, in an indisciplined way. The key thing is, whether the fund is with us or not, we would have to have done these very difficult measures that we are taking.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says the country will soon start reaping the benefits of the ongoing non-deal roadshow with investors. The non-deal roadshow team has already been to London, Washington, D.C., and the team, which is jointly led by the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, is expected to be in New York and Boston this week.
Those we addressed quite robustly. I think people are calming down. And
are they going to respond accordingly? Because the whole idea about this whole engagement was about restoring confidence in the economy, and then they're reacting by bringing in the required capital.
That's exactly why we are here. I mean, clearly, with the transaction we did, there's no need to be rushing to the market. It will give them time to get even more familiar with us. But I think we've sown a pretty good seed.
In another development, the IMF has confirmed it is still discussing with government a possible extension of the fund program. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, at a recent engagement, said the decision will not come easy for the economy. Some lead economists have concluded that Ghana may not request for a program extension despite the expected difficulties that may come along with completing the program on schedule. But in response to a question by Joy Business's George Wiafe, at the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington, D.C., Head of Africa Department Abebe Ameru Selassie said the extension of the program would be based on conclusion of current discussions with the government.
On Ghana, should the program be extended? I mean, ultimately, this is something that's up to the government. From our side, of course, as you noted, the arrangement has one more year to run. The program is facing some headwinds. In particular, there was a big, significant fiscal slippage last year relative to the targets. So to get to the program, as you noted, there would have to be fairly significant, fairly forceful, significant adjustment over the coming year. what is important, though, is not just the amount of fiscal adjustment that has to be done, but also the government's ability to restore confidence by pursuing and addressing the structural reforms that the economy needs. Here, I want to highlight in particular, there's quite a bit of reforms that need to be done in the state-owned enterprise sector, which have been a source of pressure on the public accounts and impacting the banking system also. So I think tackling those would also be very important in the coming months. But ultimately, I think the government has asked for time, and they're considering how best to move forward with the program that the country has with us. And we're happy for the government to finish its deliberations, and we've already had one mission there, also initiating the Article 4 discussions. So we're in discussions, and we'll let you know as soon as a decision has been taken by the government.
Head of the Africa Department at the IMF also commented on whether it might be prudent for Ghana to issue a Eurobond.
On whether a Eurobond should be issued or otherwise, I mean, again, important really is getting the fiscal path, getting to a point, getting the fiscal accounts to a level which makes sure that debt stops accumulating and will be on a clear downward path. That's the whole objective of the program. And then, whether to finance the targeted deficits via Eurobond or domestic market, that's the pros and cons are a technical matter and will have to be looked at in the context of, ideal debt management, the ideal debt management considerations. So those are my thoughts on that.
And back here in Ghana, customers of various banks who fail to honor their loans according to pre-agreed terms will be weeded out of the banking system to allow Ghanaian banks to operate effectively. These are the words of the managing director of HFC Bank, Robert Lehand. According to him, non-performing loans have become a major setback for the growth of the banking industry in Ghana. He said the bank has developed a new strategy of strengthening its debt recovery department to ensure a clean loan book. In an interview with Joy Business, Robert Lehand said customers who refuse to honor loan agreements will be treated differently.
Aggressively looking at that, we have moved our non-performing acts. What we are doing, I ask you to ask any one of the customers who had a non-performing loan, and you will realize the pressure that they are now facing compared to the past. We have actually increased our delinquency or recoveries department from 8 staff to 35 staff. We have a very improved system as it relates to identifying these loans and taking corrective action. So we are seeing improvements in our recoveries by almost 500% in the past year.
When you talk of being aggressive on your customers, don't you think they will feel more treated?
Well, at the end of the day, if you borrow my money and you are not paying, if you are borrowing money from me and you are not paying, then, you're not such a good customer. And therefore, there's a saying called Peter must pay for Paul and Paul pay for all. At the end of the day, it is not good for banks to have delinquency because the good customers end up paying for the bad. And therefore, we can't have that happening.
So would I be right to say you are not going to treat your customers with kid gloves again?
Well, we have stopped treating our delinquent customers with kid gloves. What I could say, as you have realized from all the awards that we are winning, that we are treating our customers with increased and better customer service. However, when you do not pay me or you break your contractual agreements, we work with our customers where there are legitimate reasons. We try to restructure our customers and talk to them and give them extended times. However, there are a number of cases where customers are not paying because they are dishonest. And those customers we are weeding out and ensuring that the full brunt of the law they feel.
All right, so that was the MD for HFC Bank, Robert Lehand. Now to the tourism sector, where the Car Rentals Association of Ghana, CRAC, is calling on government to regulate the car rental industry for the state to maximize the needed revenue for the sector. This, according to the association, will boost efforts towards driving domestic tourism in the country. After addressing the first stakeholder meeting of the association in Accra, President of CRAG, said Yeboah Okran, noted the introduction of regulations into the industry will help flush out unscrupulous persons operating without licenses, as well as minimizing the use of rickety vehicles by some rental agencies.
Currently, our membership is close to 100 or over 100, but we have a lot of what we call illegal operators who park the cars on the streets and whatever. So doing, government doesn't get any tax from them because they are not regulated. You know, what our membership drive is to register every member that meets the minimum standard by Ghana Tourism Authority, and also making sure that you are registered and you can pay tax. So government will make more money. Once we do that, once the prices are down and it's safer and affordable, we will get people to come, and we can also attract the so-called illegal operators to come on board to do the right thing. And then the end result is that our consumers, our clients, or tourists will be the beneficial, because there won't be any conference, any meetings, any family reunion, funerals, and what have you, is done by, you need a transport to do that, you know. So we, as a car rental association of Ghana, or the car rental operator, represent that. When you look at the statistics that I give there, 17,000 plus vehicle was involved in an accident, only 2016. Ghana National Road Safety Commission said they are overwhelmed with this. How do we help them? Because I can say that about 1% or less than 1% are car rental companies. So meaning we are doing something good, but we are not letting the public know. We are not letting Ghanaians know. How do we help National Road Safety Commission, MTTD, DVLA, to create awareness, to create education, to reduce this kind of road accident? And as well as the traffic in Accra, we believe that this traffic in Accra is artificial, is man-made. Why would you borrow money, create 3 lanes, and allow one to be blocked to be market, and the truck drivers have a field day on the roads, which cause artificial traffic? This and other things doesn't allow free flow of tourism, movement of people. Tourism is all about movement of people, you know. So I'm calling on the MTTD and the authorities concerned to do something immediately.
You're live on the marketplace, and moving on. Managers of GN Bank and Gold Coast Fund Management branches at the North Ridge here in Accra have assured customers both entities will be opened for business today despite the fire outbreak on the premises over the weekend. The 2 businesses located adjacent to the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel, a section of which the fire affected. It took firefighters about 7 hours to bring the blaze under control, but management of the group says customers' funds and data were not affected. Now, my colleague Charles Aite has been to the premises of the bank and Gold Coast Fund Management and is going to update us on what progress so far is going on. Charles, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, what did you observe by way of cleanup after the fire? How is the place now?
Well, as we speak now, the place has been cordoned off. The security is very tight. A disaster management team is currently clearing the rubble as a result of the fire outbreak over the weekend. So the place is very, very intense in terms of the security, as you can see on the screens right there. Workers clearing of the rubble in that regard.
So, Charles, you and I know the place very well. But which exact buildings were affected in the process of the fire?
That was an extension building, not the main hotel for that matter, as management have stated, and even as we could even see on the screens. That's an extension of the building, which houses the GN Bank and a Gold Coast Fund Management, and as well the television station, the local television station, Amansan Television. But as we speak at the moment, business, as you rightly stated, has bounced back. At the very left wing of, the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel, there has been a makeshift structure for the Gold Coast Fund Management to begin operations. Customers are already there, workers are attending to them, and I did get in touch with the head of communications and the person of Richmond Kilson, who described to us a scene and as well expressed high hopes in the wake of this very present time. If we could listen to him.
2 days after the incident, we are back into business. All the affected offices, all the affected subsidiaries have been relocated. And so today, the TV stations are operating with their sister TV stations at Salam Down. The financial institutions, GN Bank, North Ridge Branch, and the Gold Coast are here. So right, maybe by the close of today, they should be operating within their new offices. But in the meantime, if you watch here, this is a structure that they are still serving their customers, and everything is going on. We had a backup of data that tells you that nobody has lost anything in terms of deposit, in terms of document, in terms of one's profile. Everything is intact. So it's only a question of recollecting what is or was at our head offices, and everything is fine with us.
We do know that, Groupe Ndoum has, as part of its fleet of companies, an insurance company. Did you insure this company and the Groupe Ndoum, or it was an external insurer?
It's an external insurer, and they've been around to assess the damage, the cost elements involved. I'm yet to get the actual cost, but everything is being done to make sure that if there's a need for us to get any premium or any insurance, we surely will do that.
Could you quantify the amount of money lost as a result of this fire outbreak?
Wow, it's too early. You're talking about, even the building itself, from that end to the other end, about some 12 companies that are in there. And talking about state-of-the-art equipment, the broadcasting equipment, not ordinary ones. So the computers, people lost their iPad, phones, so it's huge. All the companies that are affected have been insured. To every liability, even if we should have any liability, it's the liability of the group, not an individual customer. Fortunately, with the GN Bank, nothing in terms of our funds, nothing in terms of our deposit was missing or was lost. Everything was intact. They had a very fire-resistant vault. So when we were able to retrieve it, we realized that all the monies were intact. But quickly we've sent an SMS message to them. Look, they have nothing to fear. I mean, in the wake of such an incident of such magnitude, definitely there'll be that panic reaction. We understand it. But this is Groupe Ndoum, big as that. Even the synergies that we're building clearly tells you that there are other companies, sister companies that are helping all that is to get back onto their feet. We're talking about GN Bank, 1 out of 292. So definitely they cannot be bothered too much. They cannot be worried too much. The point is that if in an extreme scenario, if we should have even a liability at all, that will be borne by the group. So they don't have any cause to worry. We've sent them SMS messages reiterating a position that they have nothing to lose, they have nothing to fear.
I suppose that was a strong assurance by Richmond Kilson, a very, very good assurance indeed. But Charles, what about any confirmation that the fire disaster didn't actually hit the bar, especially of the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel?
No, the entire building is safe, as I earlier stated. Just as he also did state in the interview, just Amazon Television, GN Bank and Gold Coast Fund Management happened to be affected by this very fire outbreak. Oh,
so we could see from the pictures that GN Bank and Gold Coast Fund Management are operating in a makeshift structure.
Absolutely.
What about ATV and DTA?
Well, those media stations have been relocated to the first digital, station at Abelinkpe.
Okay.
To join that very fleet of stations there. So, it even brought up issues of whether or not workers could be affected in the wake of this fire outbreak, of which Richmond did state the fact that, job security is still intact and workers would not have to, be bothered about the security of their job. So, in a nutshell, the company has, as they claim, been able to manage the situation in the best of ways and are doing everything possible to make sure that the effects of the fire outbreak doesn't cost them in terms of profitability.
All right, and then did he actually say whether, the bank would, in the shortest possible term, pay some kind of compensation to customers in any way? Have any customers lost anything in any way?
No, funds have not been lost at this very moment in the wake of this very fire outbreak. As he even stated in the interview, the very vaults that contains the funds of these customers are very safe and sound. They were not affected by the fire outbreak in any way or form. So the funds of customers, investors are safe, and business is in the very right shape.
Thank you very much, Charles, for that update. That was my colleague, Charles Aite, bringing us up to speed with developments after the fire disaster that's raised some offices of Groupe Ndoum at the North Ridge branch in Accra. And you're still live on the marketplace. Moving on, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, last week disclosed to Joy Business on the sidelines of the ongoing IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington that government has reached an agreement with the Millennium Challenge Corporation for a review of the ECG concession deal. Now, the arrangement would now, among others, see more local participation whilst ensuring that no layoffs are carried out at ECG in the 25-year period of the concession. A council member of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, reviewing the deal is Kwame Jantwa. He explains further. A council member of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, who is part of the team reviewing ECG's concession deal with government, Kwame Jantwa, has justified the need for renegotiation of the compact. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has hinted government has made proposals to Millennium Challenge Corporation towards reviewing the deal. This would now, among others, see more local participation whilst ensuring that no layoffs are carried out at ECG in the 25-year period of the concession. Mr. Jantwa tells Joy Business this, among others, necessitated the review.
There's been quite a number of issues with the compact itself that can be inimical to Ghanaians. The local content bit alone, ECG already has companies that they work with, local companies that they work with in the regions. They are not catered for in the compact.
Had we not always known this?
Well, we'd known it, but then it went to Parliament and it wasn't brought up. And it was signed. And so some of us are looking at it with government to make sure that we incorporate it in the concessionaire agreement that is going to come up. Now, there's a question of the single concessionaire. Does that help us? Does that help Ghana? Isn't it better to have a multiple of concessionaires as they do in other countries, so that there is a way of not only putting your eggs in one basket? The role of ECG itself, they have the distribution. Where do they sit? What should they do? How do they handle things as ECG? And yes, some people will say that we are tying ourselves to this kind of legacy property that we have. Yes, it's legacy property, but still, it's one area that we cannot just let go.
The $500 million Ghana Power Compact was signed in August 2014 to improve the fortunes of ECG and will see the power distributor managed by a private firm for 25 years before returned to government. The Ghana Statistical Service, GSS, says all is set for the release of the actual growth figures for the last quarter of 2016 plus the growth rate for the entire 2016 period. There have been controversy over some economic figures being used by government for analysis on the economy. The release, according to the GSS, will cover growth rates in key sectors of the economy, including agriculture, manufacturing and services, among others. The GSS will also give some projections for the year 2017. Acting Government Statistician Ban Wadie explains to Joy Business what to expect in these new figures.
The GDP that we're releasing is like, it's historical data that we are going to work on, because we're going to firm up the last quarter. We're going to release figures for the last quarter of 2016, which is historical. And then if there are revisions in the other quarters of 2016, that is what we are going to show. So it will not relate to the current, what we are observing currently.
So what are we likely to see in this rate, in the results?
In what?
In the results. What are we likely to see?
Well, we're going to tell you what the actual growth in the gross domestic product was for the entire period of 2016 and also for the last quarter of 2016. We're going to give you that figure.
And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for joining me today. My name is Emmanuel Apwaji. We are blessed to begin tomorrow, same time, for another edition. Good afternoon.